What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3, part 2 of our 10-20 No Limit Challenge. LimeSlicer, my half. I'm Krantz, of course. Continue on my way here to victory. Hopefully, I go 2 out of 2 against the ever talented but somewhat inferior player to myself, White Lime. So it looks like, if I'm reading this right, his c-bet percentage is really, really high. That's something that I can take advantage of by calling more rather than re-raising pre-flop, and I'll make more money calling and raising his c-bets, if that's correct. I just don't know enough about him to justify making a play there. Although it's obviously a little fishy. I don't know enough about him to warrant playing back in that spot. So Hajaga is a 40-12, which hasn't shown up, but is pretty interesting. With barely any aggression, I'm gonna pop him here. He's nitty, but he will raise a bunch of hands on the button, and we're deep, so I have a top hand, and do want to play a big pot with it if I flop something or turn something worthy of playing a big pot. DW balls just took the place of a fish. He is probably one of the better 10-20 players. I remember playing with him at 3-6 back early in the year, and he is he's tricky. He's definitely one of the, I'll give him respect. He's definitely one of the solid players at this limit who knows how to read hands and can get creative and knows how to trap people. Okay, here's a perfect spot where I'm just gonna check his stats first and make sure that this he's a 9-5 over 22 hands actually, so I'm just gonna call. If he was actually taggier, I'd be, I think, re-raising there just to really piss him off, because I re-raised him the hand before. But given how he's so tight, I think his under the gun range is much stronger than I thought. I'm gonna fold once here. Here I'm gonna definitely 3-bet this and maintain my aggressive image against him. I've only showed good hands against him. Although I'm sure he knows that I'm 3-betting him light. When he checks his turn, I figure him for nearly always a better hand than me. I mean, he's got jacks, queens, kings, or an ace. So hopefully I'll hit a 10 or a queen. I'm going to 3-bet here again. I like 3-betting low pocket pairs more often than I do calling. Although, this might have been a good spot to call to keep this guy in. But generally out of position. I mean, you're going to put yourself in so many tough spots post-flop. Out of position with a hand like threes, unless you flop a set. And the thing is, against most tag players, opening ranges from late position, you're just not going to get paid off. No matter what your image is, you're just not going to get paid off enough to justify the call. I don't think I would ever fold, but I almost want to fold and avoid the situation more often than it's just going to be so tricky. Like, what do you do on a Jack 4-5 flop when you get c-bet? You check and call? Oh, okay. Well, what happens when they check back a 4 or 5 and on the turn and they win, or what happens when they have overcards and they improve to beat you on the river, or what happens when an ace comes on the turn and they bet again. You know that they would bet with all aces and all bluffs. Do you fold? It's just a really really bad spot to be in. So I guess that just dials down to the importance of playing fewer hands out of position without the initiative. I think most players at this level understand that, but players at 3-6 and 5-10 don't. And I almost think that's something that a lot of players should be thinking about more if they're looking to move up between those limits and they're looking to think about the differences in play between 5-10 and 10-20. Just how much more valuable position is. If you want to be a lag by all means. You can be a lag and have the same win rate as a great tag. Just be laggy from late position and be insanely tight out of position. And your image will translate to getting. You don't have to 3-bet light when you're opening tons of hands and playing extremely loose from late position. Most players aren't aware that you're tighter under the gun and under the gun +1, and they just think you're a crazy maniac overall. I mean, given that, I mean, it's interesting that he re-raised here. He must have a big hand because how tight he is. But sorry to ramble. Getting back to that, your image will translate, and you'll get yourself paid off when you're only 3-betting from the blinds with your top range of hands. You know, something that I just totally disagree with, especially nowadays, is that you need to balance. You need to make sure you're 3-betting from the blinds because you need to make them know that you can show up with complete trash with like suited connectors, just to balance out your range. Simply because then you won't get paid off with your big hands. But that's simply really not the case now. Uh, it's just not the case because with so many people who are relying on poker ace stats and poker tracker and just thinking about what the typical online players general ranges are like, they just see your stats, they see your 2018 and they just assume that you're 3-betting the same range of hands as every other 2018. And that's sort of like a slap in the face to you. If you spend so much time moving up through the limits and developing your own personal style, don't let them compare you to every single other generalized tag. Like, yeah, I love it when somebody is like, it just doesn't happen anymore because most people are like, I'm playing Krantz or I'm playing Prinny Ray when they post a hand against me. But I used to love it when they were like, I'm playing, Krantz. He is a 23-18 or he's playing 30-20. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's gonna tell you a lot about me. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. You know, you don't include anything about our history. You don't include anything about what you've seen me show down. You just say 30-20. And you really think against somebody who's like put as much time into studying how to play poker and in breaking down my game and going through so many downswings and upswings and figuring out what works and what doesn't. You really think that you can break a good player down into something as basic as that? No, you can't. You just can't. So I think the top players are obviously aware of that. They're more interested in what your favorite spots to 3-bet from are, or things like general tendencies to double barrel and triple barrel when your opponent looks weak, and so on. They're more interested in that than they are in stats. And that's why some of the top players don't even play with stats. They are losing out on a lot of information that would help them, especially against fish. But an interesting exercise if you're looking to get really, really good is to play without stats for a little while. Don't use them as a crutch. Use them as a resource to help you make marginal decisions easier, or use them as a resource to help you table select, but do not rely on them as a crutch. If you want to get really good, It's sort of like in Star Wars: A New Hope when Obi-Wan's trying to teach Luke the ways of the Force. He tells him, uh, lower your blast shield on the helmet. Search and use your feelings. Not You need to sometimes feel it out blind instead of feel things out. That was a good call by Crush and Kill, I think, in this kind of pot. Uh, Feel things out and really learn to trust your reads. Like that pocket sixes is hand that I was playing. If I was looking at Ill's stats, he was playing 18-15, but being able to based on complete stats, the hand where that guy showed up with king 10 in the rear is power. I call it sixes and one. Um, if I'm just playing, but just flying with stats, honestly, that I would have snap folded. I would have snap folded. It wouldn't even been a concern. But the ability to rely on my reads, ooh, he bought in full. The ability to rely on my reads is something that's gotten me as far as I can, and you just have to be if you're gonna get really good and you're gonna move up from 10-20, from 5-10 to 10-20, from 10-20 to 25-50, and even higher, especially higher than 25-50. And you want to play with the best players, and you want to be able to hold your own when there's a great fish at the table. But uh, there's 4 or 5 other really tough players. You have to be completely fearless about putting your stack in the middle. Completely fearless and not afraid to look like a moron. And if you do look like a moron, you need to take that information and use it to your advantage later in the session or later in your poker career against the same players. So yeah, something that I think I'm gonna write up. It's sort of a I guess as an article. I'm gonna write it up for the site, potentially on Danger Lion, is the differences between a strong high stakes player and an elite player. And one of those things that I want to elaborate on is personal style and what you should be paying attention to as far as personal style. Because like I was saying, my stats may match up with a ton of different players, but my style is sure as hell a lot different than the other guys. Here's a spot where it absolutely sucked to get aces versus kings. So I can actually bet this flop and fold to a check raise, I think, from this guy. I'm going to call in position here, and if I got heads up with him, I'd hopefully be able to exploit the fact that he c-bets so much. But now that the pot's multi-way, I'm just going to play this straight up post-flop. I'm not even going to... This is just horrible board texture against three-way players because generally, I mean, when he bets into 4 players, he absolutely has a piece of his board. Generally, somebody's going to have some sort of straight draw. Somebody's going to have a pair of queens. Somebody's going to have a flush draw or some combination of that. So right now he has at least queen king, I would say, but definitely ace queen or better. Potentially just a 12 to 15 outer, but his range is super strong for double barreling that board and also betting into 3 other players. When I was getting really good, I remember reading a post by El Diablo. I think it was in his well, and it really opened my eyes. It didn't necessarily force me to change my game, but it really reinforced what I was already doing as far as c-betting. He said that somebody asked him, El Diablo, how often do you c-bet into 2 or more players? And what he said was, I c-bet more often in multi-way pots because it looks stronger. And I think people have obviously caught on to that now because in post legislation, everyone's a lot more educated about the game. They're a lot more aware of the fact that you can have a player is likely to have air based on his, and they're looking at pre-flop ranges and they're looking at how often he's going to hit that board, and they're mathematically figuring out how often he's connected and how often they can profitably float, or at least they're aware of this if they're not calculating. Got to show there. So it doesn't hold as much weight now, but in the past it was I'm actually going to call here and hope D-Moogle squeezes, and then I'm going to repop. It's not bad to play a small pot with ace king this deep. But like I was saying, I'm going to check raise here. He'll bet his bluffs, and he will bet all his aces and call a check raise. So let's make it a size he'll call. The only thing I'm worried about is if you check the flat back with like ace X, being ace 4, ace 7, or ace 3. But, yeah, so he was just bluffing there. So if I bet, he's never, I doubt I'm ever going to get a bluff raise from him. So the best play is to check, let him bet his aces and his bluffs, and then build a pot with obviously the best one pair hand. I'm just rarely ever going to get 3-bet there this steep. So yeah, back on the subject of continuation bets, it really reinforced what I was already doing as far as c-betting lots of flops multi-way. But nowadays, I mean, into 3 people, 2 which are fish, and that sort of ugly board texture, it's just not happening as much. I'm going to test him out here. Oh, it is happening as much. It's just not as eye-opening a concept. I'm going to test him out here and repop. See how he reacts. So he calls. Betting isn't bad, but it's going to put me in a tough spot if raised. So I'm going to check and hopefully try to induce some things from him. Okay, now the question is, will he barrel me if I call? If I call, it looks... I mean, he could obviously have me beat here, but generally, I mean, if he has me beat, he's only betting with a queen. I'm going to call. If I call, it looks like I have a pair, but this guy's aggressive enough to barrel me. We'll see what happens to a turn bet. I may have to fold. But, yeah, so he checked. I don't think he would ever bet a 6. So I'm actually going to bet 400 to try to induce a raise here. Because I think he would bet the turn with any queen. Sort of a free showdown bet. And if he does raise, he's going to obviously be repping the 6. And he would never bet the flop with a 6. So, yeah. So, unless he slow played a 7 on the turn, I absolutely have him here. Or, ace queen. Surprised he didn't bet the turn with that. So I just got completely owned there. Really surprised he didn't 4-bet pre-flop or 4-bet pre-flop with that, or bet the turn, or even, yeah. That's just very interesting to me, and something that I'll file in the back of my head. But you know, like I said, I trust my reads, and he never has a 6, so the only hand he can really have is a slow played set. I just didn't think he'd ever slow play. So that's just something that I'm willing to live and die by, my reads in that spot. Interesting that he bets 200 on the king. I just can't. Oh, I guess he's capable of appealing with the king, and he could have a 4. Yeah, so I never expected him to show up with a queen there, and if I did expect him to potentially have a queen, I probably would have bet slightly more on the river, uh, as a better blocking bet, because he might not shove all in with ace queen like that. That was actually, I mean, a good play by him. I think the river raise was great by him. Obviously, I never have a big hand when I bet 400, but the fact that he didn't bet the turn, just the way he played it, was pretty good. I'm not sure if he did it purposely, or he did it, just because he saw my bet size on the river, or he's worried on the flop but saw my bet size on the river. That was just like actually the perfect way to play against me. So I'm impressed with that one. I will humbly say I got owned. This guy's been re-raising a lot. I'm not going to call Jack 10. Just wish I had a hand to start 4-betting him. So here, given how deep we are, I'm just going to isolate him, get everyone else out of the pot, and play a pot in position with this hand versus him. I'm going to check back the flop and play a game of pot control. I don't see him calling with worse if I bet, and I might induce something here. So here's a spot where I kind of like. I don't think I'll ever induce a bluff by calling. Again, I don't think I'll ever induce a bluff again on the river, but I can charge. I don't think he's ever going to fold a better ace, but I can charge his draws by raising. And he'll call and he won't bluff the river. It'd be very, very weird if he bets. I have to put him on ace queen. I almost want to shove. What is it, 900? I think I have to look him up given the odds that I'm getting. I don't like it, but I mean, this guy's fishy. He could show up with a busted draw. Yeah, there we go. I think I played that as about as well as I could. Like I said, he's really his aggression factor is. I mean, I'm gonna look it up in Poker Tracker. His aggression factor post flop is just. I mean, it's very, very thin. It's like 0.5, 0.81, no, 0.811 over 125 hands on the in post flop by street. So that means that when he is betting, he's not betting big from what I've seen. So if I call, I'm never gonna get that much money on the river. If I raise, I mean, yeah, he'll fold his bluffs, but he'll call with all those draws. I was definitely surprised that he bluffed a misdraw on the river like that. But yeah, he'll call with all his draws, and he'll also call with better aces. But I kind of set my own price for showdown. That's a play that not a lot of people make that I think is definitely profitable. And it just shows that you should always be thinking about why you're doing what you're doing and evaluate all the options: fold, call, or raise. I think those two plays are some plays that you're not going to see out of a lot of players at 5-10 that you'll start seeing more of out of players at 10-20, and you will see out of like the really, really good players is thinking about bet sizing and thinking really about their range and how they react to your bet size, and really evaluating all your options: call, fold, or raise, rather than relying on sort of textbook things. And you can take that attitude and you can translate it all the way down to small stakes, no limit. You just have to make sure that you're correctly thinking about stuff and that you're always critically analyzing your play, both immediately after you play, which is sometimes hard when you're multi-tabling. Sometimes you have to grind. You have to play 8 tables. You have to play 6 tables. You have to play 7 tables. I don't even know why I just went 8, 6, 7. But sometimes you got it. So then you devote time after your play to evaluating everything in Poker Tracker and thinking about, even if you don't want to do it every day, do it like once a week and spend some time and think about, well, what could I have done here and how would he reacted, and talk to some of your friends. Some of the best people I talk to aren't people that about poker hands aren't people that play my limits. They play, 5-10 or they play 3-6, but they're able to really critically analyze hands, and they send me hands where they've doctored the action to make it look like they took an alternate line, and they ask me what I think and why. And that's great. That is way better than sending me the exact action, because if they can not only evaluate the play that they made, but they can also evaluate other potential plays that they could have made, that's just going to make them a better player, and it's going to start nailing into their head what plays are better. Repop them here. I haven't been doing much, and I position it's blind versus blind. This guy's ridiculous. He's absolutely hilarious. That's twice he's shoved over my 3-bet, so this should be fun. I'm not gonna pop him here simply because he's going nuts, and I want to keep Shoplik in. Bet the turn because I think he will check back some sort of pair and call a turn with it more often than he's gonna hit bluff with missed overcards, and I can get two streets of value by betting. But if I check and call and he is bluffing, he's almost never gonna bluff the river. So I'm getting only one street of value. So I'm up one buy-in over about half the hands, and I did misplay two hands. The 9-7 suited hand, I am happy with the way I played it. Like I said, I was very, very surprised with the way he showed up, and maybe with what he showed up with. Maybe I'll look at that in the Poker Tracker review, but I would definitely be looking at the Queen King hand against D Moogle that in hindsight, I do not like. Here's a perfect spot with tens. This is definitely one of the hands I'll call it off with if he shoves. And I will shove over any 4-bet at this point. I'm going to check back the flop. I don't think there's too much value in betting tens here, especially because King X is one of the hands he could have called pre-flop with. If he bets a turn, I'm shoving though. Yeah, if he bets a turn, I'm shoving because it's just unlikely he has a king, and I can rep a turn flush draw, and he may just spastically bet any pocket pair and hope that I shove all in. So, well, you know what? I probably wouldn't have shoved. I would have called, and then if he checked the river, I would have shoved because then I could rep a misdraw, and I could also pick off all his bluffs. I should have actually isolated him again here. It's fine though because even though I want to play as many pots as possible against the fish, I do have 6 high. So we have a limper up here. I'm going to blast him out of the blinds. Make a lot of money when he calls and folds most flops, or he calls and barrels them, or even I'll just steal that $20. That's fine. Fine by me. $20 can buy you 20 single cheeseburgers. Or no, is it double? Yeah, it's double cheeseburgers now. It's even better at McDonald's. These things are good. Tempted to show there. So let's look at. I'm unsure why Poker Ace isn't updating. I'm not fabulously great with computer stuff, but we're gonna look at Jelsinkaru's stats. So he's over 100 hands. He's 2015. So he's definitely not as nitty as I thought he was. He's just a standard tag. So I'll be able to re-raise him lighter now, knowing this. I think actually I may want to pump up my aggression, not against Crush and Kill, but against the other players, and start re-raising them a lot more, just to switch gears a little bit and get a little bit crazier, a little bit crazier post flop, given the fact that I've been playing pretty tight so far. Let's see what happened there with the pocket kings. So he checked back the flop. This guy's terrible. He checks back the flop with kings, and then he raises the turn. Here I'm gonna repop and get it in with eights, given our history and the fact that he's just jamming. Eights are definitely ahead of his shoving range in my opinion. I will bet the flop to get him to fold out tens and nines and so on. That's interesting. So he raised the turn, crushing kill, just call with a set, and then this is just ridiculous. And then Jelsinkiru check the river with kings. So I'm just very, very confused. I'm gonna bet this again and move him off Jack X suited. I just don't really ever expect him to have an ace here because I assume that he'd fold most aces pre-flop, and given the fact that the turn brings the ace, yeah, there we go. Given the fact that the turn brings the ace, it's just unlikely that he has one. I also think that his big aces, given our history, he would be shoving, just blindly shoving, or I guess four betting. But this guy, I mean, shove is a four bet, but this guy just loves to shove. It's like his girlfriend calls him, just like, "Yo, C and K, what do you want to do tonight?" He's like, "All in." That's what he likes. All in. All in. It's like his mom's waking him up to go to get it for school at like 7 in the morning. It's like, "Mom, shut up! I'm all in. I'm all in." Yeah, that didn't make much sense, but I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I think that hand is also interesting with the eights because a lot of people will check back the flop or they'll obviously check back the turn without really thinking about what their opponent has. They'll look more like, "Oh, I have eights, I have showdown value," but in reality, I mean, yeah, I do have showdown value. I could be ahead of like pocket sevens or something, but I'd much, much, much rather flop a six here. I'd much rather turn a hand like that into a bluff against a jack when he has like jack queen suited or something, or pocket tens, pocket nines. Get him off those hands. I'm gonna look like an idiot when it goes check, and then I check and then he checks the river, and I check back, and I'm just I'm no good. And he has some weak hand that I could have moved him off. So here, if he opens, I won't three bet him with nines. I'm only going to three bet him with hands that I'm willing to play to call off 150 big bets. Which nines for 150 big bets, no. Even despite how aggressive he is, no, I'm not gonna. I'm just not gonna do that. I don't want a coin flip. I want to get my money in good, especially because what are we at now as far as hands? We're at 300 hands and I'm up about 2,800. Coin flip could help. Could definitely cement a victory over Emil again, but it's losing it. I'm not in good shape at all to do anything against him. So, I hate to have silence, but I'm just not going to ramble on just to find stuff to ramble on about. So right now I'm going to start looking at some of the other table and think about potentially game selecting a bit better. I'm on a waitlist for an amazing table. It's got Demoogle, Shop Leak, Jelsinkiru, uh, Crush and Kill, and two fish. So games do look good, and it looks like a couple other games have opened. But three short stacks on one. Yeah, so other than this one, I think the two tables that I'm on are the best. Let's look at this guy's pre-flop raise. Again, I don't know why it's not coming up in Poker Tracker. Yeah, but he is. So I'm going to pop him here and just try to win this money and take it down with the C-bet on the flop. It's not really a good turn against a fish, especially when he could have a queen. Checks back. I don't see much value here unless he has eights. He could have like 9-10. He could have a queen. So I'm just going to check and hope he goes check, check, and I win. Yeah, there we go. He's never folding that to a re-raise, to a bet on any street. Here I'm just going to fold. If I squeeze, I mean, he's going to 4-bet a lot, and he'll probably call the squeeze, and then I'm just going to be stuck in a huge pot with Jack Queen out of position. I just really don't feel like I'm going to be able to bluff my way out against either of those players. I mean, this guy's just not folding, and this guy is, this guy's a calling station. This guy just won't like to fold to me. So fabulous, two short stacks. That is not cool. I'm gonna have to get on one of these other tables immediately. It's like, don't they realize I'm making important work here? Can't they not fuck up my game? Sorry for my cursing. Oh boy. I accidentally clicked show. That was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. I'm gonna pop again here. Just retake the initiative out of position rather than relying on hitting, especially when he calls. Make it 200. Make sure not to give anything away by re-raising quickly. Just wait a little bit and go. I used to have severe timing tells. Well, not necessarily timing tells, I would insta-do everything. That was maybe one of the last things I ironed out of my system that made my game better. Was not insta-doing everything. And I still kind of like insta-doing everything. Just like instantly making decisions because it really makes things tough on a lot of players. Like, why did he insta-do this? Why did he insta-do that? In reality, I just process everything really quickly. But to them, it looks like, maybe I'm tilting or, oh, I can't stand his relentless aggression because he just keeps betting and betting and betting. Well, yeah, I like to bet, guys. Sorry. Repop with position here. Just put the pressure on him from the big blind. if I repop him with 4-5 there when I have aces, the idea is that when I have aces, he's more primed to stack off with any pocket pair. I think that works more honestly on like more of the Euro sites like Party Poker and iPoker, because you have all these like tilting Euro players. This is an interesting spot. You have all these tilting Euro players who just always put you on aggressive bluffs and get really tilted. This is a very interesting spot. He called quick on the flop. I don't expect him to fold here, but I do have a double gut shot in overs. So I'm almost tempted to bet and shove any river if I don't improve. I'm going to take a free one. Not bad. Makes the backdoor flush, gives me a straight. Make a big bet here, and I can fold to a check raise easily. But I'll just bet as big as possible, and hopefully he has, two pair or one pair, puts me on a bluff on the queen. Okay, come on. There we go, quick call. And he called with pocket sixes, so that it's often better to bet bigger and just make the call. People love to call. It's one of like the base concepts in poker. Everyone hates folding. So yeah, if they think you're bluffing, just bet as big as possible. Make them put you on a bluff. Okay, I think I might have found a better table. I'm going to check back on the turn there just because I don't think there's any value in betting. It's interesting that he bets here. I don't think he's... Maybe that's not a good turn table. It's interesting that he bets here because I don't think that he's ever bluffing, but I would expect him to follow through on the turn. In this spot, I guess he was most likely just slow playing against me on the turn and now is betting for value on the river, and because of the hands that I saw him play before, there's no way I'm ever going to try to move him off an overpair by repping a 5. I can't get off this left table because Hajaga is so bad, and he's worse than any of the other players on any of these tables. I think I kind of have to stay at both. I'm wondering if I position on crush and kill here. Yeah, I kind of have to stay on both. This is what I was talking about playing relentless in position. Although unfortunately, actually, I don't think I should have made this play because of the 2 short stacks in the blinds. I wasn't even paying attention to them, and I really should have been. I was looking at the other table. The fact that these 2 short stacks are in the blind are just does not bode well for any light re-raising, because they can just shove over it. Okay, so he moves in, which means we're going to fold and continue next week. I bid you guys adieu, and hopefully we'll be able to continue along this journey across the sea of 10-20 no limit and the vast waves that are re-raising games. This is Krantz. Good night and good luck.